You're listening to The Upland Rookie, a podcast presented by Upland Brits. Dear Upland Brits and the Upland Rookie podcast, while I will attempt to keep this brief, no promises. My first memories of upland hunting were with my dad and grandpa in northwest Kansas. I remember tagging along before I could even carry a shotgun. I remember I was really the bird dog at the time. I was an extra set of legs between a couple of guns to cover more area, and if a rooster got up, I had to be steady to flush and shot. But when the bird went down, the chase was on. I even remember chasing a wounded rooster through a winter wheat field. I am sure it was quite the sight. I hunted pheasant in northwest Kansas through high school before leaving for Nebraska for college. I hunted a couple of times during college with the future father-in-law. He even mounted the first pheasant we shot together. He had 2 girls, so it was a special moment for both of us. However, between college wrestling and later raising young kids, I didn't hunt much for about 15 years. Once my son started to show interest in hunting, and after he completed hunter safety, we started going out a few times. After a successful youth weekend, pheasant weekend, my son was hooked and I was back to chasing upland. At first, it was just my son and I walking around public lands in central Nebraska. One day, I decided to start training my golden doodle, Finley, just to see what interest he might have. He was successful with tracking scent and had a great recall, so off to the fields we went. We had a successful first weekend with a couple of good flushes, while there were a fair share of misses. We were also able to harvest a pheasant and a couple quail. While Finley loved to be in the field, I could tell it was a glorified walk for him, and if we came across a pheasant, he would track and flush, but his desire just wasn't there. Needless to say, his desire didn't meet my desire. After some persuasion, my wife allowed me to start looking for a Brittany. I happened across a 1-year-old female at a local humane society. A story for another day, but unfortunately, that did not work out. However, now the whole family was ready for a Brittany, and the search intensified. I was able to find a male Brittany puppy in western Nebraska this last December. I have successfully completed gun introduction, bird intro with Murphy. Last spring, we spent some time in the field, and Murphy was even able to flush a couple pheasant on training ground. While having a Brittany puppy and training my own dog has been a learning curve, I look forward to the bird dog he is becoming. While I know I may run the 2 dogs separately for at least the first year, I hope to have Finley by my side with Murphy while Murphy works the field in a few years. Thanks for the opportunity to share my story. Love the Upland Rookie podcast. It was just what I needed as I resonated my uplands journey and bird dog training. Well, you just heard a story from my good friend Bryce Abbey. Bryce wrote in just sharing his upland story, and I couldn't be more excited. Bryce, thanks so much for taking the time writing that down. Really love getting to just hear a little bit more insight on what got you started, how it happened for you, because every one of us has a unique story just like that. It was a bird dog, a father-in-law, a move across country, or something to that degree that really pushed us over the edge to get us into the uplands and keep chasing these birds. So thank you again. Guys, on that note, don't forget the Dakota 283 giveaway closes on July 30th, 2021. I'm partnering up with Dakota 283 Kennels. Just a reminder that they are letting me give away to one lucky winner of the podcast, or listener of the podcast, a Dakota G3 medium kennel with Dakota guard, as well as a dine-in dash or a dash watering system. Guys, this is over a $500 value. All you have to do is find the Instagram post, the Dakota 283 kennel giveaway post on my Instagram account at the Upland Rookie Podcast. Follow the instructions there, but you've heard the drill before. Probably if you want to get your name in the hat more times, so that post that you find, that'll get your name in the hat once. Bonus entries are writing in an Upland story. So email it to me, uplandbrits@gmail.com, or you can message it to me on Instagram at the Upland Rookie Podcast. Again, you only have a couple days. This podcast is releasing Tuesday, July 27th. So just a couple days to get your stories in. All entries will close on July 30th. So don't forget, guys, this is a great giveaway. Thank you again to Dakota 283. I also want to thank my sponsor, Eukanuba Premium Performance Dog Food. If you want to get everything your dog's got, then you need nutrition that holds nothing back. To unleash your dog's maximum potential, check out the new Eukanuba Premium Performance lineup at eukanubasportingdog.com. Also, a special thanks to my affiliates, Cable Gangs, as well as Dakota 283. Dakota 283, use my promo code if you are going to buy anything off their website. It is TUR10. It'll save you 10% on your next order with Dakota 283. Cable Gangs, when you hit up Brennan over at Cable Gangs on Instagram or Facebook, just mention the podcast and you're going to get a free item of your choice, either a tether or a 24-inch drop. So check them out, and thank you to both of them. Next week, I actually have an exciting announcement. I have a new sponsor joining the podcast that I'm going to save for next week's episode. Really excited about this partnership. It's a good buddy of mine, and I'm really, really thankful. Him and I have been talking for a little while, and next week will be the premiere episode of a brand new sponsor to the Upland Rookie Podcast. So stay tuned for that. All right, what up, rookies? So now that we are through all the intros, the sponsors, the affiliates, which I thank them once again. Thank you for helping support this podcast. But we're going to dive into the episode here very quickly. Get a long one for you today, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. But did want to share a personal update with you. You may have seen on social media over the last week. The Upland Brits family did welcome in another addition. So we brought in a new 6-month-old American Brittany. Her name is Win, and man, she's been an amazing little dog so far. Really, really sweet-natured. Probably the calmest dog I've personally owned around this age in comparison wise, and man, she's great around the kids and the wife, and just a really cuddly, very, very people pleasing dog. So really, really excited about Win. I've gotten to see her develop since she was about 8 or 9 weeks old. My mentor picks up 2 puppies usually as a stud fee service, and so he's been evaluating these 2 dogs. They're sisters, Orange Win and White Win, and over the last several months, I've gotten to see them develop and really, really took a liking, especially to White Win. And I was second in line behind another guy who's going to take the one that Jeff would sell. And last minute, the Win fell into my lap. The other person just decided to wait, and Jeff called me up and said, Win is available. Would you like her? And it was a quick and easy yes for me. Had the wife's blessing. The kids were all excited. So it was definitely leaning this way. We were just waiting for that final call. And yeah, so Win is a part of our family. And couldn't be happier. Had her out for the first time this past weekend, actually kind of honey behind her as my dog. I've gotten to see her run a whole bunch over the last several months, but man, she was pushing 150, 200 yards this past weekend, just searching for birds and handling really nice. I'd give a little holler, and she'd come with me, change direction. So again, she's 6 months old, so she's a little older. She's had a lot of this intro basic work done already. So she's going to be ready to hit the field September 1 with the Upland Brits crew, and this fall is going to be even better. I'm just really, really excited for what this has. So that's really the update for me. New puppies are always fun. It's always exciting. I'm sure a lot of you out there have picked up new pups this year, heading into fall. Just a reminder, be kind to yourself, be kind to the dog. Just take it easy. It's a first season, even with Win right now. She is 6 months old. She's had a ton of bird work done. Gun intro we started about a month ago, actually. Before I took ownership. So she's got some of the basics down, which is nice, but still, she's going to be a puppy going into the first season. And just for anyone listening out there who's got a puppy right now, just remember they are a puppy. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to bust birds, but they're going to have a blast if you let them. Just let them run, let them do their thing. So don't, I shouldn't say don't have too many expectations. I should say have the right expectations going into the fall season with your dog. If set a goal of, hey, I want to see my dog puppy point 1 bird. That might be a realistic goal, because they might bust a whole lot of them and do all sorts of crazy stuff. I know Gage's first season was a little bit like that. It was a little bit, had some great success moments, but also had some moments where I was getting frustrated. And so going into it with other dogs, it's all about what expectations you have on your dog. So all that to say, set the right expectations. Don't make them too high. Again, they're a puppy. They're learning, and they're going to be such a better dog at the end of the season from when they started. So anyways, that's all I got for you today. Enjoy the episode. Today's episode is with Anthony Ferro of Fetching Feathers. I drove out to Anthony's kennel about a month ago or so, maybe a month and a half, and sat down with him, heard a little bit more about his story, but really dive into his kennel, what he's doing at Fetching Feathers, the kennel, and we just catch up with Anthony, and I hope you enjoy this episode. How's that little cocker dog you got?
He's the bomb.
Is he?
Smartest dog I've ever trained.
No way.
By far.
Wow.
And I'm not talking about personal dogs.
Okay. Just in general.
I'm talking about every dog that goes through this kennel. That Cocker Spaniel has made life the easiest of any.
No way. Just trainability.
All of it. He just gets it. He understands. He takes very little pressure in order to correct and to make the association with why the pressure is happening. And
wow.
How to fix it. And at 1 year old, honoring points, and then, flushing, and my flushers are honoring his flush. And
wow. That's awesome.
He's just a really, really smart young man.
How did you dive into that? This is actually a question for later, but I'm going to jump into it now. Yeah. How did you get into the aspect of training a flusher with a pointing dog? Like that, in my brain, I am still wrapping my head around pointing dogs. Yeah, sure. So to throw in a totally, how's that different, even the training wise?
Yeah, I hunted over Rowdy's father 2 years in a row, a dog named Samson. Okay. And I was just so impressed. And he worked with pointers, did the same deal. Okay. When he saw a pointer on point, he would sit. Shooters get in shooting position, release the dog to flush, and it was just like the next step in the dance. I don't know how to put this. It's like I don't know. I guess it's like from learning to bake a cupcake and then moving to a whole cake. It's just idea of just like this natural progression and the next step of upland hunting and training. It's a symphony. I mean, it's truly a dance when you're running pointers and flushers together, because obviously you got to have a pointer that's steady and that's going to go on point, and then a pointer that's going to honor a flusher that comes in front of him and not break. Yeah. And then the flusher also obviously has to look at the pointer and sit so the shooter can get in range. And so I don't know, just when we kind of started to make that transition and I saw Samson hunt, I knew how I wanted it to work for me. And this is something that I obviously want to talk about a lot in this podcast when we talk about training, is we live in this time where in America there's one way to do things. There's one way to believe. There's one way to train a dog. There's one way to skin a cat. There's one way to cast a fishing pole. This idea of if you don't do it this way, then who are you? And you're wrong. And God forbid you do it your own way and it's successful. Oh, hell no.
Wait, you mean there's more than one way to train a dog?
Right. So
wait a second, what?
There's this idea, and that for me is like the big turn on in dog training is that.
That's awesome.
There's a lot of different ways that we can go about achieving the same result, and that just because I do it different than you or he does it different than her doesn't make anybody wrong. It's just a preferred method, and that's what works for you.
Yeah. Have you tried different so-called methods out there? There's the Smith method. There's the Hickox method. There's all these methods.
Yeah.
Have you like sampled different ones and found what works for you?
Yeah. You know what's funny is a lot of them are very similar, and they call it a different name. Okay, so and I won't say any names, but there's people that call it trained retrieve. It is no different than force fetch. None.
Sure.
Zero.
Just
But
a
again,
name.
It's the time that we live in, and oh my God, you're force fetching a dog. You're pinching it, whether it's an ear, you're doing the toe tie.
Train retrieve.
So they call it trained retrieve, where he's working for me instead of me forcing him to do it. But if you watch a force fetch video and then press play on a trained retrieve video, it is the exact same thing. The idea of association, right? Ivan Pavlov's theory of association, Bell salivation treat, right? It's all association, and force fetching or train retrieve, the pressure is linear. I'm giving you pressure until you give me something that I'm asking you to do. Once you do that, the pressure stops. So you're trained retrieving the dog or forcing the dog to fetch, and when he fetches, the pressure quits. Teaching the dog how to turn pressure off. It's the same thing.
Same thing. It's okay. Same thing. It's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Okay, let's back up a quick second. Give us a little overview. Who are you, and put us on a map.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Anthony Ferro, owner of Fetching Feathers. I live just east of Denver, Colorado, in a town called Bennett, just about 35 miles outside of Denver. And I train dogs professionally and have a little apparel line to boot with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like it, concise to the point. Did you always know you wanted to be a dog trainer?
Absolutely not.
Really?
No, I promise you that if I would have known that I wanted to be a dog trainer, I would have skipped the 4-year university that I turned into a 5-year program.
Okay.
I would have skipped that altogether. I had a passion for dogs, just like a lot of people do, and quite honestly, I'm not even sure that I would have identified my love and joy for dogs as a passion prior to me discovering that I wanted to be a dog trainer. Right? I was one of those people that joked about it, and you see the memes of like me at a house party, and I'm sitting there by myself, and I want to talk about dogs, and nobody's around because nobody wants to talk about dogs.
Sure.
So at the time, I didn't really, I didn't put that as like I want to be a professional dog trainer. It was just like I like dogs and I like to be around them, and most people are pretty surface level. And I was like, well, if I'm gonna be at this barbecue today, where's the dog at? I'm gonna go play some fetch.
That's me. I'm like, all right, show me your dog.
I'm gonna go play some fetch. So I didn't discover my true passion for Upland dogs until college when I first got started, and then really I was just diving in, and maybe I thought that I was an Upland hunter, or I was satisfied with where I was and the little training that I knew how to do to a dog. And then I had that unfortunate tragedy with my house fire in 2018, and that was really the perpetual push downhill that made me say maybe you should pursue your passion as a career. And it was an easy way for me to.
And just for timeline's sake, at the point of the fire, you weren't training dogs professionally, right? I knew you were hunting a lot, and so you had another job on the side. Yeah,
sure. So I sold heavy construction equipment as an outside sales rep and a key account manager for United Rentals and Sunbelt Rentals. And the funny thing is that I was always able to parallel my love for dogs with my construction accounts, as I was able to take a lot of my general contractors out on hunts. So my company would say, oh, hey, you've got bird dogs. You're entertaining, Mr. GC. Why don't you take these guys hunting for the weekend? And so I was kind of already pairing my passion for dogs with my current miserable 9-to-5. But the miserable, quote-unquote, 9-to-5 paid the bills well. And it gave me that status that, for me at that time, I desired and that I thought that I needed, right? So we have this idea of these like timelines that life provides us. So you go to high school, and then you go to college, and then after college you get a job because you've got debt and you're entering the workforce, and somewhere between college and finding a job you meet a girl, and then you're supposed to get married and have kids and have a family, and there's always like this said timeline and step by step. And so for me, growing up in the suburbs of Kansas City, I followed these timelines.
Sure.
And it took something like that house fire for me to wake up and say, hold on a minute. Maybe you want to diverge a bit. Maybe you want to be the white cow in a room full of black cows, Anthony. Like, don't just keep following the herd.
Sure.
Right? And so it gave me the gumption to take the leap and say, you know what? While the 9 to 5 is good and I'm successful and I have this position and a company truck and all these things that from a status standpoint I thought that I was doing well, but was probably the fuel of my unhappiness, you know?
Sure.
And so when I lost the pups, I had to take an internal look inside and say, all right, at that point I was 32, and I said, you're going to live the same way you did the first 32 years of your life, or you're going to start completely over like your life is requiring you, right? So I have the outfit that I'm wearing, and that's all I owned at that point, right, the day after that fire. And I just had this opportunity and this inner calling and this desire of wanting to do something else, do something different, be something great, grand, like to think about a dream of mine and it actually becoming real instead of just sitting around the campfire after a hunt with our boys saying, man, sure would be nice if we could do this for a living.
Sure. You just kind of took that and you're like, let's do that then. Yeah. Let's not talk about it.
Yeah, I decided to go for it because I didn't have much to lose at that point, right? I lost it all.
Sure.
And by all, I'm not talking about the tangible things. I'm talking about the dogs.
Sure.
And that to me was my purpose. That was why I got out of bed every day, was because of my dogs. And that's why I exercised, because of my dogs, and had to get them out. And I couldn't, for me, dogs provide this opportunity where we don't get to be stagnant, right? This idea of the devil loves an idle hand. Well, if you're a subpar dog owner, the devil's never going to get to hold your hand because you got to get up. Dogs got to get up and pee.
Sure.
So you can't sleep in, even if you're depressed or having a bad day or the life's anxieties were getting to you and you're like, I'm going to skip training today.
Sure.
And then you look at your dogs pacing and just looking at you and all smiles and you're like, okay,
sure,
I'm going to get up, let's go, put my boots on, kick dirt, right? And that's this idea of kicking dirt. And obviously it has to do with work and it has to do with life and it has to do with your dogs. And
sure.
I kick dirt for a lot of different reasons. It just so happens to be a good mantra for upland hunters for all the obvious reasons.
Absolutely. Put more miles on and
That's
keep
right.
going.
That's
keep going. Just kind of an impromptu question came up as you were talking about that. I think I can hear the passion in your voice, and I've known you for a long time. Just how much you love those dogs that you lost. How hard is it for you do you constantly compare your new dogs you get to your old dogs, and how do you kind of bridge that gap of, no, this is a new set of dogs, these are individuals? Like, how do you kind of differentiate that?
That's a really good question, actually. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that before. I don't know, I guess without comparing dogs to kids, which I do quite a bit, I think it's very similar in that like every kid is different. And just because we had one child that started walking at, I don't even know when kids start walking. Sure. 5 months? 6? When do kids walk?
One-ish.
Okay. So I was way off. I was 6 months off. We're expediting the walking process here. So it's this idea of just understanding that every dog and every kid is different, and you're going to notice that one dog is good at pointing where the other one might not progress the same, and so you're going to have this idea of comparison like you're talking about. It's like, oh no, is my dog broken, or is he dumb, or how come this dog's not learning as quick? And well, Gnarly already did this at 6 months old, and well, Radar already won this title at 8 months old, right? For me, it was really easy to not think about that, and probably just because that tragedy really taught me how to be present. I think that's something that everybody really struggles with all the time, is being present, right? So even when you and I are sitting right here, it's very easy for me not to be present because I know what I have to do when we're done with this, and I also know what I did before this, right? So my mind can either be past tense, living with regret or remorse of, dang, I shouldn't have done this, or I should have tried this, or I shouldn't have said that, or thinking about, oh no, this is what I have to do tomorrow. It's just really easy for me now to wake up every morning. I got a kennel full of dogs. I don't care what you showed me yesterday. Today's a new day. We're going to be present today, and we're going to try to do our best today. I'm not going to think about yesterday. I'm not going to think about tomorrow. Right here, right now, what can I make a difference with this dog? I think to compound with all of that, I named my new dogs how my old dogs died. And that's why I did that, right? So Smoke and Fuego are litter mates. I bought them as true brothers to replace Gnarly and Radar that I lost. And I did that on purpose. I don't want to forget about that tragedy. It keeps me humble every day. You know, I didn't have any tattoos before the house fire, and I have a half sleeve, and it's all dedicated to lessons that I learned in that, and things that I want to continue to grow as myself as a young man moving forward. Not only as a man, but as a dog trainer, as a friend, as a son, as a boyfriend. All the relationships and titles that we each carry every day. I just really am trying to become better at being present, and the more present you are, the easier it is not to do things like comparison from dog to dog and things of that nature.
It's awesome. Thanks, man. Sounds like that house fire really sounds like that was a huge shift in your life, and thanks for just being vulnerable and sharing kind of how that's just changed your kind of your mindset almost. Unfortunately,
I catch a lot of crud because it happened in 2018, and here I am still talking about it. And unfortunately, for the listeners that don't enjoy me or my story or are sick of hearing of that, unfortunately, that is my story.
It's part of your story, yeah.
And from 2018 to now, I still do think about it every day. Sure. And it doesn't go away, and it doesn't hurt any less. The difference is that we have two opportunities in life with tragedy. We either allow it to shape us and make us better, or we allow it to define us and hold us where we were stuck, right? So for me, it was just I took it so personal. It really, to the point that it angered me, right? So I'm a man of faith, and and I'm not going to get too deep into this, but the book of Job really, really hit hard for me during that house fire. And long and short, Job was a faithful man, didn't waver. God took everything from him, his health, his life, his family, his animals, his property, everything dwindled, and he never, ever wavered. And in return, he gave Job everything that he desired times 1 billion. So this idea of just not to waver, and instead of woe is me, and why'd you do this, and all the anger that I wanted to feel, I said, I see you, I double down, I raise you, show me your cards.
That's awesome.
And I didn't buckle, and it has been and is the driving fuel to every reason that I get up every morning to train these dogs before the sun rises, and to go to bed after the sun sets, and to pursue this business, to be self-employed, to run a ranch by yourself, to run a kennel by yourself. It takes a lot of energy and gumption and sacrifice. And I think that the only way that I'm going to be successful is to remember what we're talking about now and how I got to do this, right? Because prior to this house fire, I was an outside sales rep. And it would have stayed that way if it didn't take something like that to drop me to my knees. And so in the strangest kind of way, I'm really thankful for the lessons that opportunity gave me, and I'm thankful for the step forward in the direction of me chasing my passion work, man. It's been such a blessing.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Heck yeah, man.
All right, moving on. You recently were in a little car accident, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
with your dogs. Tell me about that.
Yeah, really crazy.
The dogs are okay, right?
Yeah, dogs were okay. And actually, I'm glad that you brought this up.
And you're okay, obviously.
I am. I'm upright.
Okay, good.
I was just leaving the girlfriend's house, so I usually stay at her place on Wednesdays in town. And I was coming back Thursday morning down the long stretch country road from Denver to my place, and a gal rolled through a stop sign, and I guess just didn't see me rolling down the hill in a big white truck at 50 mile an hour. And so instead of me hitting her head on, I swerved hard left into oncoming traffic, and she T-boned me.
Oof.
And then sent me down a ravine and broke my front axle in half, and all my airbags and everything went off. And that was the lesson, that I'm glad you brought up, that I'd like to share with people.
Share
and I couldn't believe this, and I never ever thought about this.
Yeah.
So I didn't have my dogs in the dog box. I had them in the cab with me. I kind of have this rule, and I'm a 50-50 guy. I hunt, I train, I do all of those things, but my dogs are also my family. So if I'm like running errands in town, going to the gas station, hitting up the bank, my dogs are in the cab with me. We're just bebopping around running errands. If I'm going training, if I'm going camping, if I'm going hunting, they're always in the dog box in the back of the truck. So anyways, we're just leaving Kate's house, and it got totaled. All the airbags go off. I get out of the truck, leave my dogs in the cab. Obviously, we're at a site of a wreck. There's cars everywhere, traffic moving, didn't want the dogs around.
At that point,
Well, by the time that we got through with processing the police, getting the cars towed and out of the middle of the road, making sure that the other party was okay, my girlfriend came and picked my dogs up and got them home and all of that. And the dogs are like hacking out of nowhere. almost like kennel cough hacking, a real dry
Okay.
heave. Well, the next thing I know, they're all throwing up like white marshmallow puff. It was like the thickest white, like, it was like marshmallow puff. That's the best way that I could put it. And come to find out, they were inhaling all of the dust and all of the chemicals and the combustion chemicals that makes those airbags go off.
Oh, gosh.
That they ended up all getting sick and inhaling that stuff and vomiting for like the next 6 hours after the wreck.
Jeez.
I called the vet, obviously, and they're like, well, there's not a whole lot. So as long as like respiratory wise, they're okay. You know, we don't need to give them oxygen. I said,
Okay.
nah, I think they're all right.
All right.
So I just kept putting water in them, and they threw up for about 6 hours, and then woke up the next day, and it was fine. So guys, if you're ever in a wreck,
Get your dogs out.
get your dog out of the vehicle so they're not inhaling all of this nasty chemical.
Yeah.
You know,
All
it was
that
like
junk.
it was like essentially like baby powder with gunpowder residue.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's
the
something
combustion.
no one would ever think about that. I mean, you're in a wreck. You make sure you're okay. Other people okay. Like that's just something I would never have
First thing I did was look in the back seat. You know, the boys were all right. Fuego was in the front seat. Smoke and Rowdy were in the back.
Yeah.
Everybody seemed okay. I mean, they were all wide-eyed. The huge eyes. They were like, "Whoa, Dad!
What just
took that turn a little hot, son?" And I was like, "My bad, guys. I actually got hit by a 17-year-old girl on her phone. Not Dad's fault this time." So that was a good lesson to learn. But we're okay. And you know, obviously, trucks can be replaced, and we've got insurance, and there's legal things in place for things like that. So. We're moving forward and just thankful for our health.
Yeah, that's scary for sure.
Yeah, keep pushing.
Absolutely. That's another story. My son put his hand under the lawnmower yesterday.
I wasn't sure we were going to do this today.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
yeah,
no.
it's still very.
So it was a riding mower and it was on?
No, push mower, electric, and I think that was a saving grace also with God. It's not very powerful, so I think if it was a gas mower, he would have probably lost some fingers. But it was pretty nasty. So thankfully,
he's okay
just
now.
Fractured a couple fingers.
A little bit of blood.
Sewed them up. Oh yeah, quite a bit of blood. It's a lot of blood in my front seat because I threw him in the front seat and just drove to the hospital.
I bet your heart sunk, man.
Yeah, it was rough. It was one of the more scary things.
And you said that you saw it happen and just couldn't.
Oh yeah, just watching it in slow mo, and just my wife and I were talking and couldn't stop it.
Oh man, I hate that for you.
It was rough.
Lesson learned. I bet he doesn't put his hand in the cookie jar again.
Exactly. Hopefully, I know he's our wild child. So.
Is he?
Yeah. All right, let's transition a little bit. I want to get into training quite a bit here, just real quick. Let's touch on. I know we talked a little bit in the beginning. We weren't recording. Just on you added a flusher to the mix. Flusher is not something we talk about very often on the podcast or a lot of hunting podcasts. It's all about pointers.
Yeah.
Which I love pointers.
I'm all about. I was like, it's about time. Thank goodness that pointers are getting their shine.
But throwing the flusher to the mix like this, why did you choose to go with a flushing dog? Why didn't you pick up another GSP?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I did actually pick up a GSP, another one.
Oh, you did? You have a pup coming.
Yeah, I bred Fuego.
That's right.
So I'm always adding to the line. You know, I want to keep 5 to 7 dogs on my string just for how much I hunt. But long and short, I was able to hunt over my now flushing dog, Rowdy. I hunted over his father a couple times out of Texas. A buddy of mine had him, and I got to see the next step in the dance of upland hunting, if you will. It was like going from the 2-step to the cha-cha, and I was like, dude, I'm trying to be Danny Zook over here, man. Grease lightning in the house. Let's get these steps in. So I hunted over this Samson dog, and he was just so impressive. I could not believe what he was capable of, and the way that obviously he honored when I saw pointers go on point, and Samson saw it, and Samson sat. So we can get into shooting position, and then we released Samson, and he flushed, and it was really attractive to me. Yeah. And as a dog trainer and just me and as a person individual, I like continuously testing myself and putting myself in uncomfortable situations, if you will. And I was like, I've never done this before. Let's give it a go. And because of what I do for a living and the network that I have, I figured if it didn't work out, I would have a started dog that was gun broke, that had obedience and house broke, that I could sell as a started dog if it was something that didn't work for me or that I didn't enjoy or I wasn't excelling at. So this whole idea of having my flusher essentially walk at heel while my pointer are 200-300 yards out, and then I can sit my flusher whenever I wanted and have him honor the point, And then, me go in front, and then that was a big part of why I named him Rowdy, because I just had this envision in my head of saying, get rowdy.
Nice.
And so, essentially, I named him on what I wanted his flush command to be. Awesome. And I was like, damn, get rowdy sounds pretty legit. That. I'm about this.
I love that.
So I bought the little Rowdy, man. He just turned 1 year old. He's an English cocker.
Oh, he's young. He's younger than I thought.
Oh, okay. He just turned a year old in May.
Okay.
So he's young.
Yeah.
And so if he just turned a year old in May, I shot 8 species over him in his first Upland season as a wild bird dog.
Really?
Which was unbelievable to experience. Wow. It wasn't a good looking first season. But the kid's got a huge nose. Okay. He understands whistle commands and quartering and recall. So I didn't have him out running at 80 yards just putting birds in the sky like a madman. I mean, we managed it pretty well.
Sure.
Now that we're in our second training season, he's 100% ready. He sees the dogs on point now. He sits himself.
Wow.
He stays until I get up front. I tell him, get rowdy. He comes in, hits the scent cone, puts the birds up. Yeah. A lot of people with flushers are doing sit to flush. Okay. So pointers are steady to wing, shot, and fall. Flusher comes in, puts them up. Pointers stay. When the flusher puts the birds up, Rowdy, in this mindset, is supposed to sit when the birds flush. I take my shot. I got my 2 pointers and my flusher now steady to wing and fall. They have their marks. Everybody releases for the retrieve.
Okay. So
I don't know. It was just
all dogs release for the retrieve.
Again, this is something that we could talk about, but there's not a right or wrong way when you talk to me about training dogs, and there's a lot of different methods and ways to go about it. So I think what you have to decide is what you want for you.
Gotcha.
Yes, I want my pointers to release at fall with my flusher. My dogs don't fight over a bird on whoever gets the bird gets the bird. They don't rip it out of each other's mouth and do all of that.
That's a big thing I hear sometimes. People are like, oh, I don't want the dogs fighting over the bird. So that's just one of the things that... We
don't have toys. We don't play tug of war growing up. They never get to take anything out of each other's mouths. When I introduce new dogs, young dogs to older dogs, and we're all playing fetch together, the young dog gets corrected for trying to pull a ball or a bumper out of an older dog's mouth. I just set the tone from the beginning that that's not behavior that we do.
That's good.
We honor the retrieve. Whoever's got it's got it, and that's the way it is. And so, it's funny with Rowdy, him being so small, we joke and I say we don't use the S word or the L word in this house. We don't use small or little. Okay? We don't tell him that he's small or little. He doesn't know that he's small or little. He doesn't act that way. But in return, there's the other side of the sword. And that is that if you want to be small or little and you want to be treated like one of the big dogs, when the shit hits the fan, I'm not bailing you out. So what that means is that when the snowstorm comes in Kansas and we're hunting roosters in January, I'm not going back to the truck because you're small. When we're hitting Kansas snow drifts and you hit some of those spots that are knee or waist high, you're going to have to learn how to work through this. I'm not bailing you out, right? Yeah. And so for me, we've set an expectation at the beginning, and I often, obviously Rowdy can't talk to me, but he does. And he doesn't want to be small or little. And he wants to run with the big dogs. And he wants to be treated the same. And he wants to stay down in the kennel with all the other dogs. So the expectation is the same. Yeah. And it's worked out really, really well. So going into our second hunting season, I couldn't be more excited to have a little bit more finely tuned flusher pointer combo.
That's going to be a sick combo.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Run people through briefly. I won't spend too much time, but just briefly, how do you get to that point of running them in a hunting situation together? My guess is you're training the dogs separately. You're training your pointers, you're training your flusher, then you meld them together. Is that it? That's
exactly how we do it. And it really starts with the pointer. The pointer's got to be 100% steady for this to happen. Otherwise, you're going to have absolute chaos. Sure. Because then you spend all this time teaching this pointer, and most people are just steady to flush. When the bird gets up, most people are comfortable with their dog breaking once the birds are flying. Oftentimes, you're taking shots over the top of your dog, but a lot of them are safe shots. Sure. We all know what shots we can take and what we can't. But this is also why every once in a while you hear about a dog being shot. Sure. Because somebody thought they could take a shot that they shouldn't. So for my standard program for my kennel is steady to wing, release it shot. No matter what the client wants, unless they want more than that. If they want wing and shot and fall or whatever the case may be, release to a head tap, I got to walk all the way to that dog to release him, that's fine. My standard program is that if a gun doesn't go off, you don't take steps as a pointer. Okay. And we start that at the beginning. So once my pointer is essentially collar conditioned to well, to where I know you're not going to take any steps if I don't take a shot, right? So then I bring my pointer in, he goes on point, I walk out in front and I do all the obnoxious kicking and brush moving and hat flapping really pushing that dog to failure, trying to get that dog to move so we can apply e-collar pressure to remind them, absolutely not.
Sure.
No steps. Once our pointers are solid, then we're going to bring the flusher into the mix. So then that way when our flusher goes in front, our flusher and our pointers aren't doing the flushing together.
Okay.
I think for me and any dog trainer, whether you're doing a flusher or a pointer by itself or a pointer with a flusher, is we do not shoot birds that are not handled correctly by the dogs. So let's say I've got Smoke on point and I got Rowdy doing the flushing. Rowdy comes in, finds the bird and puts the bird up, and then Smoke kind of cheats a little bit and breaks as that bird goes or before he goes with Rowdy because the pressure of the other dog, he's like, absolutely not, I'm on point, that's my bird.
Sure.
So if that happens, that bird's going to get flushed, and I'm not shooting the bird, and the dogs are not allowed to chase.
Okay.
So like if we're using homing pigeons, the reward in that scenario is the chase and the cat fire gunshot.
Okay.
That's a reward. If you do not hold your birds correctly, you do not get the chase, so you're going to get tones on the collar followed by momentary shocks to pull you off that bird.
Sure.
And I'm also not going to shoot to remind you, that's not what I wanted.
So
Let's go do it
you're
again.
giving them nothing. They're like, well, shit, I didn't
Nothing.
get a
You get
blank
shocked.
pistol.
You get shocked for
Shocked.
chasing, low level for recall,
Yeah.
and you don't get the pistol shot. We recall. We come back to heel. Focus ourselves. Release for the next bird. Go again. Right.
Yeah.
So the pointer's got to be steady. The hard part on the flushing aspect is you've got to be able to teach your flusher at the beginning to sit and to stay upon either a single whistle or a quick command, because he's got to be able to sit, because with the flusher you got a pointer out at 80 yards.
Yeah.
Well, my Cocker Spaniel knows what a point means now, and so when I started this transition, when he saw Smoke on point, bird gets up at 80 yards, and I was like, well, shit.
Well, not even close.
Didn't get to shoot at that one, right?
Yeah.
So at that point I transitioned Rowdy into teaching him that continuous pressure meant to sit.
Oh, okay.
And that meant whether he was at 100 yards or whether that he was at heel. So Smoke would go on point. Rowdy would see Smoke on point and try to beeline it at Smoke. He gets continuous pressure and a single whistle. Pop! With continuous shock. As soon as Rowdy sits, the shocking stops.
Okay.
So I taught Rowdy the association of a single whistle means sit. And if you don't sit at a single whistle, you get pressure. So much like bark collars these days.
Sure.
Bark collars now have tones, beeps on them.
Kind of a pre-warning.
Association. Ivan Pavlov's theory of association. Bell, salivation, treat. Okay, so the association is the same across the board.
Yeah.
It might not just be a treat. The treat in this aspect is turning pressure off. So the dog bark, 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 beep. If you bark again, it's going to shock you. Bark, bark, ow, ow, ow.
Sure.
Bark, 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 beep. Last time I barked after the beep, I got hit. I might hold off this time. Then they create the association themselves of barking, followed by a tone, means pressure. How do I make the pressure stop before it happens? I'm going to quit barking.
Okay.
All of my training is teaching dogs how to stop pressure before it happens or turning pressure off while it's happening.
Sure.
So most of my training is, it's a weird concept, but the dogs are training themselves.
Oh, sure.
The dogs are teaching themselves either, number one, how to achieve a reward.
Right.
So in positive pigeon, right, moving the bird in hand, in order to get the bird to flush, you have to stop and stand. That's why dogs associate stopping and standing with the flush, is because they know, I want to chase this bird, I better stop and stand it so he'll release it. If I want to go flush this bird for my dad, I better sit down so he can get in front, because every time I go flush when he's behind me, I get shocked and I get recalled, the bird that flies away, I don't get a gunshot, I don't get the chase, and the bird doesn't fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
So we have to start to create these essentially neural pathways.
Sure.
I'm creating a neural pathway of association.
Right. And don't we all learn better when we figure it out ourselves? When a dog figures out how to either, like you said, turn off or avoid.
The hand in the cookie jar idea.
Sure.
You put your hand in the cookie jar, your hand gets slapped.
Yep.
You're not supposed to have a cookie until after dinner. Well, how the hell do I get this cookie? Well, I ate all my vegetables. Damn, Dad, let me get a cookie this time. Association.
Yeah.
Cookie jar idea. It is the exact same thing for humans. It's the same way that we're raising our young kids. Of you get a happy plate, you get a pudding cup.
Yep.
It's the same thing.
Simple concept,
Association.
yeah. Exactly.
How do you get dessert? I have to do a certain deal. I have to clean my room if I want allowance.
Sure.
Association. How do I get money from Dad's pocket? I clean my room.
Yeah.
I mow the lawn. It's the exact
That's
same
brilliant.
concept.
That's
We
brilliant.
create association.
I love that. Okay, real quick thoughts. What are your thoughts on, so, there are guys that have their dogs steady to wing shot fall, tap on release, or release on the fall. Like, what are your thoughts on that in a practical hunting situation? just, I know pheasants may be different than Sharpies, etc. But just kind of like in general, is it doable if you have your dog completely steady to a release or something like that?
There's a lot of schools of thought on this idea and this concept. Again, I'm going to go to there's no wrong way. It's how you want. It's how you hunt. Are you a 70-year-old man and you're a bit slower to catch up to your dog, so you need a dog that's completely broke? Or are you a young, energetic, young 20-year-old that's running and gunning and you're in bird-rich environment, so you can gun a little bit harder and not worry about maybe not having that opportunity because you're going to have more? There's no right or wrong answer for that. I think that to answer the question to start, it's your personal preference.
Okay.
What I see a lot is a dog that's just steady to wing and releases it flush. To me, anybody can train.
Sure.
And is not really a trained dog in my opinion. To a point.
Sure.
To get a dog to point is training. And to get a dog to stand still and let you get all the way in front is training. So I'm not knocking anybody down that's got a dog that's steady to wing. I'm not saying that you're not a trainer,
sure.
You're not legit. But it is fairly easy. I can achieve a dog steady to wing that releases it flush in a 30-day program.
Sure.
That's just giving a dog 4 or 5 birds a day for 6 days a week. And in a month, I've got a dog that understands.
Sure. Stand still.
I'm going to stay in this until I get the flush, right? Guys that are wing, shot, fall, release at shot, you're going to notice a few things. Number one, your shooting accuracy is going to go up. Okay? Because you're not worried about, oh man, is my dog going to break? I got to hurry up and get there. My dog's not steady.
Okay.
So we're walking faster. Our heart rate's up. Our mind is thinking, is my dog going to flush? Dog going to flush? Oh no, my dog likes to get out in front. Those are low flying birds. I'm chasing quail. Do I take this shot? Don't I? There's so many different levels and distractions and things that you're thinking about when you don't have that dog that's a little bit further along in the steadiness. So the flush is surprising to you because you're not really quite ready. A lot of guys also don't walk in on a dog on point on what I refer to as a 3/4 draw. Essentially, the butt of your gun is under your armpit at a 3/4 draw. So when those birds get up, it's a quick flick of up into the shoulder, swing and shoot. The other thing that you're going to notice outside of your shooting accuracy is going to go up because your dog is steady, so you're more calm, you're going out in front, and you're ready for the flush. Sure. Because you're not focused on whoa, hey, whoa. Listen, I'm going to talk about this real quick. I'm going to digress. If your dog is taking steps and you keep saying whoa, you're giving the dog the association that whoa means to take steps. Okay? So when we teach a dog sit and the dog sits down, do you keep saying sit? Well,
some people do.
Sit. No. When the dog sits, we stop saying sit. When the dog is on point, shut up. He's already whoaed.
Sure.
Right? And if you're whoa-in your dog on wild birds, you didn't spend enough time in the off season working, because right now we've got a dog taking steps and you're teaching a dog that whoa means take steps, right? Okay. So that's that idea that if your dog goes on point and he flushes the bird and you shoot the bird, you just created a neural pathway that you want your pointer to be a flusher because you gave him the reward for flushing the bird and shooting it. This is the hard part for a lot of hunters. Yeah. Is that you're wild bird hunting. You're putting all these miles in. Yeah. My dog's finally on point on a wild bird. He can't handle it. He flushes it and you shoot it and you're all hooting and hollering and high-fiving, and all I saw was you just taught your pointer to be a flusher.
To flush. So real quick with that, so your dog goes on point. Are you going to say whoa once to get him to be steady, or does he know when he finds a bird, he's not moving?
When a dog hits the scent cone, if trained correctly, we don't talk.
Okay.
And I definitely avoid talking altogether, in that my talking is going to come through collar pressure because I'm a dog trainer. So if anything, I'm going to give my dog what I would call a proactive nick rather than a reactive nick.
Oh.
Okay? So if I've got a young dog that is not steady and I know that he's not 100% steady, as I'm coming in on point, I'm going to give him 1 or 2 small nicks. Nick, and I'm not even going to say whoa. My dog already knows the association that on point nicks mean don't move. Okay. So I'm going to be a proactive. My dog's been out of the gate hot today.
Before, yeah.
Well, and a lot of people say, well, you're shocking your dog and he's on point, and he's going to associate that he's on point and you're shocking him, he's doing something wrong. If you created the wrong neural pathway and association and pressure,
it's all you set it up.
You're 100% right that my dog is going to think that he's doing something wrong on point.
Like if I did that to my dog right now, he'd be like, what the
if I give them low level stimulation as I'm coming in on point as just a nick, He's going to know, no steps, Dad's serious,
Gotcha.
He's coming in,
Okay.
I'm going to hold my bird for him, and I'm going to go, right?
So is the other version, like we talked about, there's multiple ways to do this. Is the other version, some guys will just say, do a verbal whoa, and then you're just replacing it with a low level.
Agreed, but here's what I know. As a young man, and my dad just said, Anthony, quit, I heard it, but I didn't hear it. But if my dad said, Anthony, quit, and he thumped me on the head real quick,
a little
thump, just flicked me on the head when he said my name, Anthony, flick, it made me think twice of, Dad ain't playing.
Gotcha.
He said it, and I got a little pressure. I'm gonna stand here.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
It was this idea of the, I use this a lot. The kid at the checkout line, and that's where they get the little kids, the toys and the lighters and the color and the candies and everything right there. The sodas, it's all right there. Anthony, quit touching stuff. Anthony, put the magazine down. He may have told me 4 or 5 times, but that one time he said it, and he gave me a little thump, a little nick.
It's gonna stick a little.
I was
more.
like, I'm gonna put this magazine back down and stand next to this cart. My bad, Dad. So
love it.
I know I digress. Let me get back to where we were. So our shooting accuracy is going to go up if we have a steadier dog. And here's the other part that really that people don't think about is that your retrieving and your marking of the dog gets better if your dog is steady to at least fall. So the shot goes off and then he releases. He's standing back behind you. He's seeing everything that's going on. It's essentially being the line judge in the NFL.
Way better.
I can see the whole field of view. I'm watching everything from the back. I see the routes being ran. I can see the bird being dropped. I've got a nice solid mark. So your shooting accuracy goes up. Your bird contacts go up because your dog is steady. And your dog's retrieving and marking become a lot better and more efficient.
Never thought of that.
Because instead of... Think about how many times you get a covey rise and the bird you shoot is not the bird that your dog's looking at. Because there's 5, 6, 7 birds.
Sure.
So you took the one to the left because you got your buddy to your right, so your shooting lane's left. But 5 of the 6 birds went right. So your dog is focused on the 5 birds that went right. You took the one on the left because of your shooting lane, and now your dog has no mark and any idea where your bird is, which makes you have to have a visual mark of somewhere by this bush, this tuft of grass, this stick.
Yeah, this general.
Now tell me how many times that you marked a bird and that bird was 30 yards past your mark.
Oh, almost every one.
I want my dog to wait and see the bird falling out of the sky. Here's the deal. Let's do the same scenario. 6 birds get up, 5 went right, 1 went left. If my dog is steady to wing and releases that shot and he's standing behind me, when that shot goes off, he's gonna see the one that falls out of the sky because he is now viewing as a whole. Wide lens, right? The fisheye lens. He's using his GoPro lens. Yeah. He's got the big wide lens and he's paying attention. And when the gun goes off, only one bird falls and the other ones fly away. Well, my dog is going to choose the one that fell because he knows that's his bird, right? Or her bird, depending on the gender of the dog that you've got. So I see benefits to both.
Yeah. Okay.
Now let's go steady wing shot fall head tap.
Sure.
This is master hunter style.
Yep.
Not applicable so much in hunting, in my opinion. I don't want to walk all the way back to my dog in a wild bird scenario to tap his head. Now, if I want to show off, and I want to show, how much of a man I am and how great of a trainer I am, and my friends have been talking shit at the campfire about my dog the night before, I'm going steady wing shot fall head tap, release the heel, retrieve the heel. We could put on that show, but that to me is not functional hunting wild birds and not necessary.
Gotcha.
And I'll end it with this. The dogs that I see that are heavy field trial dogs, that are heavy NAVDA, UFDA, AKC, Nastra, they're piss poor wild bird dogs. They spend all year long working on this idea of perfection, steady wing shot fall, honoring another dog's retrieve after being steady wing shot fall. They train on pin raised birds so much they can crowd these birds. They can get 5 or 6 feet from the scent cone every time in these field trials and every time in these hunt tests, that then you go bring this ribboned master hunter title dog out into a wild bird situation of Colorado on sharp-tailed grouse September 1st. My non-junior hunted 1-year-old cocker will outwork your master hunter on wild birds. And that is simply because of what I just said. When you work liberated birds, you get to crowd that scent cone. You get a nose full every time. Those birds don't go anywhere. They're dizzy.
So those dogs, you're saying they're not picking up that scent until they're closer to it. Where a wild bird, they might have to be.
They will
50
pick up
yards.
the scent oftentimes on a wild bird, but they crowd, creep. I still don't have a full scent cone. Give me more, give me more. And then by the time they get that nose full that they're used to in a ribboned event, they're too close to a wild bird and wild bird bus.
Okay.
Now, this is not all dogs.
Sure.
And there's a plenty of master hunter dogs that would make my non-title dogs probably look dumb on wild birds. But I accept that challenge.
Sure.
Meet me on some wild birds and let me show you the difference in a dog that's trained to wild bird hunt and a dog that's trained for a title for a piece of paper and $1,500 more for a puppy because you have an MH in front of the name, right?
Sure.
I trained for master hunter and senior and all of that stuff upon request.
Sure.
Anthony Ferro, Fetching Feathers, is a kennel for meat hunters, for guys who enjoy getting away from the grind, getting out with their best buddies, making campfire stories, and grilling wild birds on their tailgate. Dude. That's what I trained for.
You got me really excited for September.
Dude, let's flipping go.
I'm really excited.
That's what I want to train for. And
awesome.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. It was going into my third year training at this facility. I'm having to identify what I want my program to look like. This idea of like, I want all my dogs to release at shot, not at wing. My program standards, right? And it's impossible not to compare yourself to your competition, whether that be competition just because you know of it or things that you see on social media. So it's this idea, again, of trying to keep up with the Joneses and making sure that you're fitting this niche because you want to be attractive because you're a business owner and you want to get people to you, right? How do you do that?
Yeah.
What I've learned is being myself is how I do everything. And training, again, there's no wrong way. It's just the way that I like to do it. I don't like field trials and the environment and the politics that are played and the way that people snicker on their tailgates as people walk by. I'm not into hunting for ribbons, as Mr. Kenny Powers of Eastbound and Down would say. Okay. I'm not trying to be the best at practice. I'm not trying to be the best at practice.
It's about the game time.
I'm trying to be the best at hunting wild birds.
Sure.
I'm trying to create dogs that are at the best at hunting wild birds. And so for me, I have comfortably backed away from this idea of trying to keep up with other kennels.
Sure.
I here at my kennel train for people who want to.
Your goal.
I'm here to hunt meat. I'm here for you to put meat in the freezer and stories to tell over campfires.
Sure.
And that's my goal at my kennel.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So we talked about your kennel a little bit. Let's get into. I know there's a lot of variables in play. Take us through like a standard, say 90-day, 60-day program. Someone brings in a pointing dog. Let's just say a GSP, kind of a neutral dog. Like what are some of the steps in the process? Just walk us through the process. Like, how are you going to walk that dog from day one to the last day that the owner picks up?
Yeah, sure. So the very first thing that we do at my kennel is recall to tone. Collar conditioning to recall. Okay. Number one, you don't know me. I'm just some random stranger at this point. You just got dropped off. And I've got to create this, number one, this balance and this respect between you and I also have to make sure that you don't run off to the next county because I live in the middle of nowhere, right? So, I mean, I can have a dog take off quick. I need to make sure that I can control you in the field so that I can do my social runs with other dogs and I can air you out and we can go hunt birds on my 80 acres and train and you're not going to take off on me. So the very first thing every dog learns at my kennel is recall to tone. And this is very simple. This is the neural pathways. This is the association. This is how we learn to turn pressure off. Dog goes out, casts at 50 yards. And I start toning the collar. Beep, 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 beep. Dog stops and kind of looks, what the hell is that, right? Beep, 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 here. Beep, 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 here. And this is when we add in collar pressure. So beep, 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 shock, shock. Beep, 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 shock, shock. Beep, 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 shock, shock. As soon as that dog comes my direction, the beeping and the shock stop.
Oh, both stop, okay.
Both stop immediately. Immediately. As soon as that dog comes my direction.
So even if he's yards out.
As soon as he comes my direction, we stop. And let's say we're recalling at 50 yards and he gets to 30 and he varies off to the right. I'm going to pick tone back up first because tone is the association, just like the bark collar.
Sure.
If you don't come to me at tone, pressure is going to follow that. Beep, 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 shock, shock. Beep, 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 shock, shock. Dog comes to me. Good. Here, here. That dog gets to me and I'm going to say here 5-6 times and pet that dog. Okay. Good. Here. That's here. Good boy. Here, here. Dog's going to cast out again and I'm going to do it again. Beep, 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 beep. Shock, shock. Same deal. That dog hears beep, and the next thing that dog knows is continuous tone, pop, 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 or on a whistle, pop, 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 means I need to recall. Okay? So we create this association of tone means recall. Now, there's 2 steps to this. 2 tones or 2 whistles is a quarter. I'm hunting north. You're about 40 yards east, and I just need you to quarter out in front.
Sure.
Okay, I don't want you to come to me. I just need you to get out in front of me. Pop, pop. You're going to come out in front. Quarter. Pop, pop. Quarter. Pop, pop. Quarter. Right? Full recall is multiple tones, multiple beeps.
Okay.
Very first thing that they learn, and I do that 3 mornings, 3 evenings in a row.
Okay.
Just recall. Just get out of the kennel. Learn kennel up, learn in and out of the kennel, bringing back to your run,
Sure.
going out for a run, being able to recall and be biddable. The next thing that all these dogs learn that parallels is when we take these dogs out of the kennel is a command that I use called wait. We learn door manners.
Oh.
Just because a door opens isn't an open invite for you to barrel out. Front door, back door, kennel door, dog box, truck door, wait. We also use wait for when we put their food bowls down in their kennel. They have to sit on their dog beds and wait. They release by their name. Odin, Otis, Miley. Everybody has to sit, they wait, they get a head tap, they get to eat their food.
Okay.
So in order to get out of the kennel, in order to achieve the reward, in order to run free, you have to give me an offered behavior that I desire. So the offered behavior that I desire is that when I open that kennel door and I tell you wait, you need to sit down. Once you sit, that's the first step. Now you get your e-collar on. But just because I put the e-collar on and I zip it up, that's not an open invite. Boom, collar's on, I'm out. Absolutely not.
Sure.
So I'm going to tell you wait again. I'm going to open that kennel door all the way up. I step back 2 or 3 steps so there's space in between the dog and I, trying to get them to want to come out,
Sure.
right? Pushing to failure, because if we don't push to failure and I don't make a correction, I'm not training. So I create a gap. I entice them.
Sure.
Look at how wide open it is. Bring your ass out here. And then they come out and I'm like, wait. As soon as they sit down, and this is the beginning, right? First week. As soon as they sit down on wait, I move out of the way and they get to come out. Instantaneous, just like the collar pressure. As soon as you come back to me, the beeping stops.
Okay.
As soon as you sit down, let's go.
Okay.
And then they're like, oh, okay. So all I got to do is sit down when the door opens. He's going to put the collar on, and then I get to go.
Oh, nice.
So we're creating this association again of there's this routine. Number 1, I sit down to get my collar on. Number 2, after my collar's on, he's going to step away. He's going to give me my time. If I sit like a good boy or a good girl, I get to go play.
Gotcha.
So recall to tone and wait are the very first 2 things that these dogs learn. And then we go into all our bird work. Positive pigeon, pigeons out of hand. So they're doing a little bit of sight pointing and smell, easy bird association for new dogs,
and
younger dogs.
So for anyone that doesn't know what that is, that's you're holding a pigeon and you are getting them to stop. Once they stop,
bird, let's go. See, here we are again. Yep. How do we achieve the reward? And again, it's timing. And you just said it. As soon as the dog stops,
well, I saw a video clip you posted today. It was, you were doing this, and it was instantaneously. That dog stopped. I think it was a Brittany or a GSP, I forget, and that bird was gone. That's
how we do it. We create that association. And the great thing about positive pigeon is that, you have a lot of dogs that will see a covey of running quail, and they see it and they go take it out. When I start dogs on a visual, they're going to go back to their mind and say, how did I achieve this flush?
I stopped.
When I see these birds, I'm supposed to stop.
Gotcha.
Sometimes we do have a visual on birds. Sure. It's not always a scent point. Sometimes it is a sight.
Yeah.
So these dogs learn immediately. Sighted or smelled, I hold my bird,
mean the same thing.
And my dad is going to come out in front and knock the hammer down for me, right? We're creating the association.
Sure.
I hold, he gets in front, birds get up, he shoots, hopefully he hits, I get the retrieve. So we create that association with positive pigeon.
Nice.
Young dogs that don't have any experience with birds, we don't use the DT bird launchers that have the loud springs. We start with foot traps.
Sure.
We want to make things localized, right? It's this idea of microeconomics or macroeconomics. Forget the economics part, let's look micro and macro. We're going to make things so small and in front of you, micro at the beginning, because I need you just to focus and create association. Birds live on the ground and they get up and they fly and these sort of things. I don't want to start with birds get on the ground and this big black thing and this trap, pang!
Loud explosion.
I don't want that to be your association when we start with birds. So we're going to baby step them into it. Obviously cap gunfire starts once chase happens through all that stuff, and we work our way in my 90-day program, which is my most popular. These are the type of things that you're going to get. It's a 6-day week program. Okay, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays are conditioning and obedience. I'm one of the few kennels that I know of in the entire United States that has a true conditioning program. I don't just run the dogs and air them out and say that they got exercise.
Sure.
I actually monitor the amount of miles that I put on them every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Oh, nice.
And every dog has to do a minimum of 5 miles before we do obedience work.
Okay.
So we start our days. I have, out here on my property, I have a 2-track, and one lap around my 2-track is 1.1 mile. So they all learn to run in front of a four-wheeler, in front of a side-by-side Polaris Ranger, or in front of a truck. We rode them.
That's really good.
We make all those laps, a minimum of 5 laps a dog. We start with 5 miles a day. From there, they all go in the chain gang while they cool off. I'm running other dogs, and then from the chain gang, we take all the dogs out individually, and this is when we work on place training. This is walk to heel, stop to heel, sit to heel, and retrieve to heel days, okay? So all obedience. Place, 100% heel with and without a lead. And then retrieving work to hand and to heel and all those type of things. Okay. And then Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays are all bird work, field work, steadiness, whoa drills.
So you're breaking those days up. So those first few days you mentioned are all just obedience.
3 days obedience, 3 days field work. Monday, Wednesday, Friday obedience. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday field work. Every other day. Okay. Every other day. So we're hitting something and then going back to it, giving them a day break, letting them ponder on it, think about it, marinate, if you will. Bring it back out, let them do it again, find out how we're progressing, what dog needs more. This dog is absolutely crushing place, but is struggling big time with heel. This next Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to do a little bit less place and a whole lot more heel to make sure that these two things are growing together.
You're still looking at every dog, like, all right.
They're an individual. I have a program, but every dog is individual based. Not every dog learns the same way. We've got 6-year-olds that are dribbling with both hands, and we have 6-year-olds that are dribbling with one hand and staring at the floor while they do it. Everybody is on a different talent. Everybody has different genetics. Everybody excels at different things. I've got some dogs that are natural retrievers out of the gate and can't point for jack. Okay?
Everyone's got the strength and weakness, yeah.
So I've got to create a program that while, okay, you're going to finish me killing the bird and retrieving, you got that. Sure. I need to work on the front end. Yeah. We're going to do a little bit less retrieves this work, and we're going to do a little bit more nose than yours.
I like that because, I mean, I don't know about your dogs, my dogs. A lot of people's dogs are not just hunting dogs, and we all want badass hunting dogs.
Yeah.
But a lot of these dogs are living in our house, so a lot of these things like weight or place, things like that.
Gotta have it.
I was going to ask you about place. Is that just built into your program, or is that a upon request kind of thing? Because I see you working a lot on
every dog. So if you sign up for my bird dog program, you sign up for the obedience program too. It's not an option. You don't say, you know what? Forget the obedience. Do 6 days a week of bird work. No, that's not how this works. And what I understand is that a biddable dog at obedience is a biddable dog out in the field, out in the open. So this micro and macro. Sure. If I can get you to be obedient in the micro, at heel, micro, close, at place, micro, very intimate training, a lot of hands-on, close, a lot of speaking and interaction, then I know that in a macro situation, in 500,000 acres of BLM, and you can go anywhere, I know that you're going to be biddable because I was able to make you biddable close. Now I know that you're going to work for me at a distance, right? Sure. So my obedience program is built into my gun dog program, and again, awesome. You just nailed it. I would be willing to bet that I hunt as much or more than anybody that we're going to talk to or affiliate with in the Upland community. You know, last year I did 82 days in the field last year. I'm fortunate that I get to hunt that much because this is my career, so that's why I'm in the field that much. But what I'm getting at is that you're going to be hard-pressed to find somebody that hunts as much as folks like I do. But let's be honest, hunting season is 3 months long. Right. So I don't care how badass of a bird dog you have, he got to be a badass for 3 months. What the hell was he for the other 9? Are you that guy? Here, let's go! Load up, come on, here! Rex, let's go, come on! Well, number one, you just said, Rex, here, come on, and let's go, all for the same command. So let's streamline some of these things, right? Everything is one word, and that's a big part of my program, is it's all one word. So you're going to get 6 days a week of work, 3 days obedience, 3 days field work, and that's going to translate across the board whether you're at home during the off season or you're on the road kicking dirt and pounding birds.
Sure.
I don't care how much of a badass you are, you only get to hunt 3 or 4 months a year over your dog.
Sure.
And most people don't kennel their dogs in an outdoor kennel. It's a family member. And it sleeps inside and on the couch with us on Sundays and hops up. Listen, I live in a travel trailer, for God's sake, and I own 4 dogs that sleep in my home with me at night.
I see
I got a dog bed the size of my living room floor,
it's
bro.
It's bigger than my kid's bed.
I'm telling you, it is. Thank you, girlfriend. I love you for that dog bed. And the boys appreciate the dog bed. You got them too, but I train dogs for a living. I live on 80 acres. I've got 9 horses. I do all of the man country stuff. My dogs get to get in bed with me every night before I go to sleep. They don't get to sleep in bed with me, but we do an hour or whatever. If I get in, I read the Bible, I do my daily devotional, I'm catching up with the girlfriend, I'm watching a TV show, we do a family wind down time, everybody get up in bed for a half hour, get your sleep, and then when it's bedtime, lights out, everybody either goes to the kennel under the bed or sleeps on the dog bed out here in the living room.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is imperative that we create a house dog and a bird dog combined because of the way hunting season works.
Love it. Okay, we're wrapping up here. I got 2 questions in a rapid fire section.
Sure.
So 2 questions. We got to talk about this. When I sit down with a trainer like you, I got to know what's some advice you would give someone who's got their first bird dog. Like, what's the biggest mistake you see? And maybe not mistake, maybe it's too harsh, but just like, what's something that's really hard for you as a trainer that you see consistently in these bird dogs that you're like, hey, if you have a dog, before you send it to me, don't do X.
Yeah.
What would that be?
So there's this idea of you can pull a leash in, you can't push a leash out. So a lot of people live in the suburbs, in the city, and there's cars and danger and roads and dog parks and rules and fences. And so when people get these puppies, they're constantly calling their dog. Let's say the dog's name is, for the sake of the conversation, we'll just go with Rex again. I got a Rex Brittany that I've been training a lot lately. Rex here, Rex over here, Rex leave it. Come on, Rex, let's go. So we create this yo-yo effect, what I refer to in dogs. The dog goes out 20 yards, immediately comes straight back to you. The dog goes out 10 yards, immediately comes back to you. We're creating a yo-yo by not letting a puppy be a puppy. So if you're on a walk at Chatfield Reservoir and it's a dog park and your dog lags behind you, shut up. You can see your dog. It doesn't have to be next to you, and it doesn't have to be in front of you. And if that dog does go 80 yards in front of you, again, all due respect, just shut up. We talk to these dogs so much that we're taking the run out. So let's get back to the you can pull a leash in, you can't push a leash out. You can pull a leash in, which is recall to tone, right? I collar condition your dog to recall. I can recall your dog at 400 yards with tones and shocks because I taught it. So that's the I can pull a leash in. You know what I can't do? I can't force a dog to go hunt at 100 yards. How do we get our dog to range? And then people are going to listen to this and say, oh, that doesn't work. Not applicable to me. I hunt roosters and I need my dog at 30 yards. This guy's an idiot. Sounds great. I like that idea. I understand. But it is just not. If you wanted a 30-yard dog, buy a flusher.
Sure.
Okay? If I've got 10,000 acres of BLM and my dog stays 20 yards in front of me, you know how many bird contacts I'm going to miss out on? Loads. Because my dog is hunting the line that I am.
Yeah.
The point of having a pointer...
You could find the bird around yourself.
I was going to kick that bird up 20 yards in front of me. I didn't need you to do it. What do I need a dog for, right? If I buy a pointer, I want my bird to go point me birds, right? I'm not leading my dog to point. You're supposed to go find it for me, and I'm going to catch up.
I'll come to you.
Which is why Garmin and everybody else has come out with GPS collars. Is to allow our dogs to go find us birds and us still know where the dog is and hunt comfortably, right?
Sure.
The number one advice I can give you guys is stop talking to your dog so much.
That's so dang good.
Because the dog gets
so
here
good.
and then it's stuck to me.
Yeah.
And it just walks in front of me and I'm tripping over it the whole time I'm training it. And so then I'm like, okay, well, now I've got to create drive. So now I'm going to pair this dog that's a 30-yard dog with my big running dogs, and hopefully it wants to get social. And then my big running dogs are going to cast out on my property at 100 yards, and I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let that young dog go, right? Yeah. Adversely, I don't want you to say, come on, let's go, hunt him up, go find your bird. You're talking to that dog, which means that dog is having to cue in on its owner. Well, what is it telling me to do right now? Dogs don't know English. They know commands.
And we want them to think for themselves in that
100%.
scenario. You don't want to have to be talking to your dog when you're out in the
100%.
of Montana.
Let's not have to worry about pushing our dog out. The way that we do that is we create independence at the beginning. So when you go to the dog park that's fenced in, just shut up. Just let that dog go be a dog. And if you got to be that dog owner that's chasing your dog down at the dog park for a couple of months, let that young dog go and be that guy. We're going to teach that dog how to come back with appropriate association with tones and recalls and whistles and things of that nature. Yeah. The other thing is how we create that independence. And I actually had a Brittany here this morning that's 7 months old, and this dog is doing exactly this. So this is really applicable right now, and I just had this conversation. And I asked the question because I knew the answer. Where's this dog sleeping at night? In bed with me. What does this dog get to do when you're not home? Free range of the house. Okay? So we haven't created independence with this dog at all. And I said, well, what do you do when when you're eating dinner? Oh, she just hangs out around the house. Okay, well, most people eat dinner in a half hour or less. What an awesome opportunity to put the dog in a dog crate and create some independence and some distance from you and that young dog for a half hour while you have supper. So we have to create independence in these young dogs and allow them to go be a bit cantankerous at the beginning, because you cannot teach a dog to run if you take it out of them. And you can, and again, that's what I do. I get it with a big running
doable,
dog.
But you're saying it's very hard to.
It is the biggest. To answer your question, the thing that I hate seeing is when people bring me their dogs, is the dog is overstimulated, it's over talked to, it's overhandled, at which point I'm having to digress and shut up and just teach that dog, like, dude, look at this open field. Go.
Yeah, just go.
Go get it.
We want you to
So
run.
that's the nice thing about having pigeons, and I can bring a pigeon bag out for a dog that wants to work close, and I'm just throwing pigeons out of the bag, trying to create chase and distance between me and that dog, right?
Yeah.
So that's the number one thing that I could give anybody with
That's
a new
good.
dog. Just don't talk to your dog so much in moments that you don't have to.
Less talking.
When we're in the street, in the neighborhood, cars, in those environments, we've got to protect our dogs.
Sure.
In the moments that you're hiking and doing a 14er or whatever it is that you're doing, and I know that you're supposed to keep dogs on leashes at 14ers. I don't. Go be a dog.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, similar piece of advice. We didn't really talk about hunting a whole lot, but I do have a lot of new hunters that are listening to this. They're maybe going into their first season. Like, what's some advice you give someone, like, who's excited, they got their dog, maybe the dog's trained, maybe it's not. Like, just what's something you would tell someone going into their first season coming up here?
Man, great question. Don't shoot birds that aren't pointed. If you want a steady dog, if you want a dog like the ones that you scroll through Instagram that gave you the push to buy the bird dog. Man, look at that dog. I want one like that. Damn, look at how steady that dog is. That dog didn't get that way because you were shooting every bird that got up. If you're walking and the human bumps a bird and that dog sees it, do not shoot it. If you're walking and that dog goes on point and you try to get close to flush that bird and that dog flushes that bird before you shoot, do not pull the trigger on birds that are not handled correctly. If you want a dog that flushes, shoot them up. But if your goal is to shoot birds over a point, your first season,
You gotta have some
sacrifice birds in the bag for appropriate first interactions could be the best advice. Do not shoot birds that aren't handled correctly.
Okay, love it. Okay, rapid fire section and wrap
Let's
up
get
every
it.
episode. Here we go. If you need to expand on any of these, you can, but these are gonna be some tough
I'll make them
ones.
short answers.
All
I'll
right.
try. I know I'm long-winded.
No, you're good. You're good. Favorite. Okay, so now you have a lot of dogs. Favorite. Well, you only have two breeds: GSPs and Cocker. Okay.
Personals, yeah.
Okay. Favorite dog breed besides those two.
English Pointer.
All right.
Hands down.
Will you ever get one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
They are, English Pointers are higher octane German Shorthairs.
Okay. Love it.
I'm about that action.
That seems like a strong statement.
I'm about that action.
That seems like a very strong statement.
Yeah.
All right. But let's see here. Just in your opinion, easiest breed to train. Again, I know it's so unique and individual, but generally,
the easiest dog to train is a German Shorthair, in my opinion. They're the most common. They have high drive, but they also want to please. And they're tough, so they can handle pressure. They can handle training pressure. They can handle setbacks. They can handle collar pressure, so they don't shut down. Like a lot of like the bearded breeds are pretty soft. Setters are pretty soft oftentimes. Vizslas are the softest of soft. Vizslas are the softest of soft dogs in the softest dog world of soft dogs.
that is on record. That is
Gosh,
on record.
man! I just got done with a Vizsla 6 months, 3 last year and 3 months this year, and man, this girl's got all the talent in the world. But if you look at her crooked, she just can't handle the pressure. They're very, very soft. And I'll tell you right now, in the 3 years of me owning this kennel here, 5 of the 7 dogs that I had to break of gun shy were Vizslas.
Okay.
I've
heard that's
inherently
very
soft.
common.
Yeah.
Okay. Advice to those owners who own Vizslas, is that just be gentler with them, or is that just
A lot more patience and reps opposed to pressure and stimulation.
Okay, gotcha.
Be patient.
Your favorite bird species to hunt?
Ooh, son.
Come on.
Oh, swah.
I told you these would be tough.
Sharp-tailed grouse.
Love it. Same. What gun are you carrying into the uplands this season?
CZ side-by-side, 16 gauge, the sharp-tail.
All right. Love it. Never shot a side-by-side.
Well, after this, we'll go down the range.
There you go. A couple more. Why an English Cocker? Just real quick. Why an English Cocker?
His dad.
Okay.
Samson was the baddest dog I ever owned. I mean,
Really?
dude, mighty Samson. Small and mighty.
That's a big statement.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They don't play. Get you a cocker, yo.
Beverage of choice after a hunt.
Glenlivet 12-year.
What is that even?
I got a bottle. like Glenlivet and Glenfiddich. They're blends. I lean more towards the Scotch side of life as I've gotten older. I used to be a big bourbon guy, but I just like the way Scotch finishes on the end. But Glenlivet's just a softer.
I learned something new today.
I got a bottle of it in the cabinet.
Okay, this is the last one. This you can go a little bit longer on. What's the hardest, but also what's the most rewarding thing about running a kennel?
The hardest is the sacrifice. I'm absent a lot. I'm absent for my girlfriend's friend's birthday, or weddings that I can't make because I have 18 beating hearts and stomachs that need to be fed, and bodies that need to be checked. The hours, it's all sacrifice. Every bit of what I do, quite honestly, is I just feel like I sacrifice my time and my energy and my efforts with everybody else but the dogs. That's by far the hardest. I'm in the kennel by 5 a.m. every morning, and I do my last kennel check at 9 p.m. every night. So for those of you that aren't very good at math, 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. is 12 hours, and we add another 4. I'm averaging 16-hour days right now. And with our fancy Garmin watches, I average like 28,000 steps a day. So it's physically demanding, mentally demanding, and I sacrifice my entire social life to chase this passion. The most rewarding, I think, is the obvious, or that I would think would be the obvious for most people. And that's finishing dogs and sending dogs to families and seeing the look on their faces when they pick their dog up at the end of 90 days. And I'm going to get real deep on you real quick, but for me, what I think about when I send a dog home is when they have all their family together for their Christmas or Thanksgiving hunt. Dad, grandpa, son, 3 generations of family, and they triple. 3 birds get up, 4 birds, 5 birds, and everybody knocks one down over that dog that pointed. When they're sitting there at Thanksgiving or at Christmas telling that story that night, they don't mention the dog trainer. They don't mention how that dog got steady to hold at 80 yards in front of him, 120-yard point in front of him, took 2 minutes to get there because the grandson was walking in knee-high brush and couldn't get there. The double up of father and son together, those moments that people cherish, that they tell to their friends, was indirectly because of the work and the passion that I put into that dog before that. And that, to me, is the ultimate reward, is the stories that I don't get to hear and the stories that I'm not mentioned in. It's like the unsung hero. I was in the background, I did all the work and took none of the credit. And that, to me, is the most gratifying feeling, is seeing a client post a picture during hunting season and read the caption of elation, and I wasn't mentioned that one time. Sure. The most rewarding is when I'm not mentioned and recognized I did my job.
Sure.
And the dog did its job, and it retained what I taught it. And that means that work that individual did and saved and sacrificed that money to pay for that training didn't go unspoken and unnoticed. And that the time that they spent away from their dog and missing their dog, and the nights that... Now think about this. Let's go even deeper. In 3 months, can you imagine the hiccups that happen in 3 months in life that maybe you might cry about, or that you could really use your dog next to you in that moment?
Sure.
And they're sacrificing that dog licking their face when they're crying in their bedroom because something bad happened. Sure. And that dog's with me getting trained, right? It's a sacrifice. Yeah. The client is sacrificing as much as I am. They're sacrificing the money that they're working for, when they probably could get a new AC or a new tire for their vehicle, or their kid could get some new baseball shoes. Instead, they spent that money with me. It's a sacrifice for all of us, and to not get recognized for it, because I shouldn't. Nobody said, oh, well, couldn't have done it without my dog trainer. It's not supposed to be that way, and that's the way I want it. I want to read the caption. I want to see the smile on the faces. I want to see a guy shaking his son because his son shot his first upland bird this season over that dog that I trained. Man, those are the moments worth living for me.
I love that. You got me fired up, man.
Come on.
You got me fired up. I can feel it.
The truth, man.
I can feel the passion.
We're 68 days away from the Sharp Tail opener.
Oh, that close now?
Uh-huh.
Dang. All right, here we go.
Uh-huh.
What's the first state you're hitting?
Colorado. Opener every year.
Colorado.
Yep.
Are there sharp-tailed grouse in Colorado?
A boatload.
Really?
I shot the trifecta on public land in Colorado here. I shot a limit of Sharpies, sage, and blue grouse all in the same field.
Okay.
In the same day.
I didn't know we had Sharpies still.
Yeah. Northwest.
Okay. Nice.
Yep.
Very cool. I'm going to try Colorado sage grouse this year.
Okay.
Pretty excited.
We struck out last year.
Okay.
I heard a lot of gunshots, but it sure shit wasn't from my group.
That's I mean, at least you were shot.
We struck out last year.
Someone at a trap range.
Just a few. I mean, you can go 3 hours north into Wyoming and hunt some of the best sage grouse you'll ever hunt from where we are.
Wyoming's not that far,
dude. 3 hours from Denver, and you're in some of the best sage grouse country in the Northwest.
Because I drove 5 hours last year to get up to Nebraska for sharptail, and so that's. I mean, if I want to hit sage. Not bad.
I got a couple pins for you.
Okay, nice.
We'll get that Onyx plug. Plug in Onyx.
Come on, Onyx. All right, Anthony. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know you got a boatload, crazy day here, but thanks for sitting down. Really enjoyed hearing your passion. It is evident. You can't ignore that. So really, thank you for sharing your heart.
Always looking forward to sharing my passion and talking positive about people in the industry and dogs and training. And most of all, I'm going to end it with this, man. None of this happens without God, and I'm going to stand by that. It's what I do. It's who I am. It's what my program's based on. I start in my days the same every way. I pray. I wake up, and I say thank you for this day and get me through it. And at the end of the day, I say thank you for getting me through the day, and hopefully I wake up and get to do it again tomorrow. So we all have a passion, and we all have a purpose, and mine is to train gun dogs and glorify God. And that's fetching feathers, man.
Love it. We'll end on that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, rookies, that is it for episode 15 with Anthony Ferro of Fetching Feathers, the kennel. Anthony, thanks again for your time, brother. Really appreciated getting to know you a little bit more. Good luck with everything you got going on over at the kennel there. Hey guys, don't forget the Dakota 283 giveaway. This is the last time you're going to hear me talk about this giveaway. It is closing on July 30th, 2021. You will not be able to get entries in after that date. So go to the social media post at the Upland Rookie Podcast Instagram and follow the instructions there. Get entered. Share the post. Tag a couple friends. You'll be entered. Your name's going in the hat. I'm jumbling everything up, drawing a name. One winner is going to be walking away with this amazing prize pack from Dakota 283. Yeah, I think that's it. Get entered. Bonus entries, you guys have heard me say it. Write your Upland story. Message it to me. Email it to me at uplandbrits@gmail.com. That's 5 extra bonus entries. Leave a Apple rating and review, and you screenshot. Very important. You have to screenshot your review to me, and that's an extra 2 entries. So, a couple fun ways for you to get extra entries, get your name in the hat, a whole bunch more. So, get that done before the 30th, and we'll be announcing the winner here on the podcast the first Tuesday in August. Guys, thanks so much. And if you are not lucky enough to hunt with or own a Brittany, any bird dog is better than no bird dog. Go put some miles on those boots behind your favorite bird dog. Take care.